No one expected a quiet Thursday morning on ITV to turn into one of the most talked about moments in British television. Lorraine Kelly had hosted hundreds of celebrities, from A-listers to rising stars, but she had never clashed with anyone quite like Sir Paul McCartney. The legendary musician had come to promote a new charity album, and producers expected a gentle, nostalgic interview. Instead, within minutes, the atmosphere grew so sharp that viewers would later say they could almost feel the tension through the screen. The show opened as usual, bright music, a warm smile from Lorraine, and camera sweeps across the set. But the moment Paul walked in, something in his expression signaled that he wasn't in one of his cheerful moods. His greeting was polite but subdued. He adjusted his jacket, cleared his throat, and sat down without waiting for direction. Lorraine raised an eyebrow. "Good morning, Paul. Lovely to have you back." Paul offered a small nod. "Morning, Lorraine. Let's get on with it, shall we?" The audience chuckled awkwardly. Lorraine, always the professional, moved forward smoothly. "So, your new project, this charity album, has a lot of people excited. You've brought together artists from all over the world. Tell us how it started." Paul leaned back. "Well, I'd love to, but I'd also love if people understood the actual purpose instead of focusing only on the celebrity side." Lorraine kept her smile, though it tightened slightly. "We are talking about the purpose. It's for children's music programs, isn't it?" "Yes," Paul replied. "But every interview I've done this week asks about the pop stars involved, who fought with whom, who didn't show up, rather than the cause. I'm hoping this one won't be the same." That comment hit the room like a thud. The crew exchanged glances. Lorraine's smile vanished for just a second before she restored it. "Well," she said lightly, "I can assure you we're not here for gossip. But viewers are curious about the behind-the-scenes stories. It's natural." Paul sighed. "Curious is one thing, distracted is another." Lorraine's tone sharpened. "Paul, we're doing our job. You came here to talk about the album. We're giving you the platform. And I'm saying," Paul replied, his voice rising, "that the platform should be used responsibly." The studio fell silent. Lorraine folded her hands. "Are you suggesting this show isn't responsible?" Paul hesitated, but only for a second. "Sometimes, yes." A quiet gasp rolled through the staff members positioned off camera. Even the cameraman adjusted his footing, as if preparing for impact. Lorraine leaned forward. "Well, that's a bit rude, don't you think?" Paul's eyes narrowed. "Is it rude to ask for respect for the cause? Or is it rude to turn everything into a tabloid-like spectacle?" Lorraine's cheeks flushed. She took a deep breath, maintaining composure but clearly irritated. "Paul, if you didn't want to talk about the process behind the album, you could have told the producers." "I did," he said bluntly. "But here we are anyway." The tension was unmistakable now. Lorraine shuffled her cue cards, trying to regain control. "Let me rephrase," she said. "Perhaps you can share a moment from the recording sessions, something inspiring for the audience." Paul crossed his arms. "Why don't you ask me instead about the charity's impact? About the kids we met? About the music schools we're rebuilding? There's your story. Not, who argued with who in the studio." His voice echoed across the set. Lorraine didn't like being challenged. Especially not live, and especially not by someone usually known for being calm and charming. Her tone cooled noticeably. "Paul, I think we're done here if you can't speak to the audience in a respectful way." "Respectful," Paul repeated. "I've spent decades supporting causes like this. All I'm asking is for focus. If that's disrespect, then maybe your priorities are in the wrong place." Lorraine blinked twice, slowly. That was her tell. The audience at home later said they knew something was coming from that expression alone. "All right," she said, her voice firm. "If you're unhappy with the interview, you may leave." Paul didn't hesitate. He unhooked his mic and placed it gently on the table. "Thank you," he said, in a tone that was both polite and pointed. A stunned silence swept through the studio. The floor manager signaled frantically to cut to a commercial, but it was too late, the moment had already aired live. Lorraine announced with a forced smile, "We'll be right back," while Paul stood up and calmly walked off the set. The moment he disappeared behind the curtain, Lorraine exhaled sharply and looked directly at the camera, her professionalism cracking only slightly. Well, that was unexpected. Little did she know that the internet was already exploding, Clips were spreading like wildfire, and Paul McCartney's surprisingly fiery exit would dominate headlines for the next week. And this was only the beginning. Backstage was a storm of whispers, hurried footsteps, and frantic producers trying to piece together what had just happened. Paul McCartney, usually the gentlest presence in any room, walked with a quiet intensity, his jaw clenched, his footsteps echoing across the corridor. Assistants stepped aside, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. One brave producer, Maya, jogged up behind him. "Sir Paul, wait, please." Paul stopped, his expression softening slightly when he saw her nervousness. "Yes, I'm so sorry about what happened out there," she said breathlessly. "It wasn't supposed to go that way." Paul sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I know it's not all on you. But I wasn't going to sit and let the conversation be twisted again. Not today." Meanwhile, on set, Lorraine Kelly was trying to salvage the show. After cutting to a long commercial break, she composed herself, but the blush on her cheeks betrayed her irritation. The cameras rolled live again. "So," she said with practiced calmness, "as you saw before the break, Sir Paul has decided to leave us early. We wish him the best with his charity project." But her eyes revealed something else, something closer to embarrassment, perhaps even wounded pride. Lorraine Kelly had been in the business for decades. She had weathered tough interviews, confrontational guests, even scandals, but this was different. Paul McCartney wasn't a rookie celebrity or a reality star. He was a global icon. And now social media was already tearing apart those few intense minutes. Within 20 minutes, #Paul vs Lorraine began trending across X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thousands of comments poured in. Paul was right, let the man talk about the charity. Lorraine handled it poorly. Why turn everything into drama? Paul McCartney never gets angry. Something must have really upset him. But there were also supporters of Lorraine. He was rude from the start. Lorraine tried to steer the interview. Paul overreacted. She didn't deserve the attitude. The internet had become a battleground. Back in the dressing room area, Paul settled down at a small wooden table. There was a mirror in front of him, surrounded by bulbs. He stared at his reflection, a man who had seen decades of fame, loss, triumph, and global influence, and wondered whether he had gone too far. Maya entered quietly. "Can I get you some tea?" Paul shook his head. "No, thank you." She hesitated. "Do you want to talk about it?" Paul looked up at her with tired eyes. "I've done 30 interviews. This week. 30. And in 28 of them, the focus shifted away from the charity. This cause, it means something to me. Kids are losing access to music programs every day. These interviews could change that, and instead, people chase drama." Maya nodded. "I understand. But walking off, it's going to make headlines." He gave a small, almost amused smile. "It already has." Meanwhile, Lorraine stepped off the set after finishing the segment. She walked briskly to her dressing room, shut the door, and leaned against it, exhaling. Her assistant, Andrew, looked up from his tablet. "Lorraine, the clip has gone viral." "I know," she said, her voice taut. "I know. He really caught you off guard." Lorraine dropped into a chair. He was impossible to interview. He came in ready for a fight. Andrew paused. "Do you want to release a statement?" She shook her head. "Not yet. If I respond too quickly, it'll look defensive. If I say nothing, people will assume guilt. I need to think." Andrew handed her the tablet. "Listen to this part," he said, tapping play. A viral clip repeated Paul's line. "Maybe your priorities are in the wrong place." Lorraine winced. "That makes me look like a gossip monger." "Well," Andrew said carefully, "that's how some people interpret your interviews." Lorraine shot him a sharp look. "Excuse me." Andrew raised his hands defensively. "I don't agree. I'm just telling you what the comments say." Lorraine rubbed her temples. The pressure, the headlines, the internet war, it all pressed heavily on her shoulders. Back in Paul's dressing room, he checked his phone. Texts from fellow musicians, friends, and even his daughter filled his screen. "What happened? Lorraine is trending. You okay? You should speak out before people twist the story." He set the phone down. "I didn't intend to start a fire," he murmured. Maya crossed her arms. "But the fire is here, Paul. And it's spreading fast." Paul stood up. "Then maybe I need to put it out." "But how?" she asked. Paul gave a thoughtful smile. "By telling the truth. Calmly. Honestly. Not angrily. At the same moment, in another room just a corridor away, Lorraine looked into her mirror, straightened her posture, and whispered to herself. I need to fix this before it damages my reputation. Neither of them knew it yet, but both were preparing for a public showdown that would become even bigger than their on-air clash.